Hey there, friends and fans. Friends and fans. Do I have fans? Friends and followers. I guess that's the same thing. Good morning today, or good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this. Today's Tuesday when I'm recording this, so happy Tuesday. Just sitting in my kitchen having my coffee and trying to find a peaceful moment. My doggies are below me playing, so you might hear some growls and some prancing. Here, these guys bring me joy. Although that mess there does not really, but but these two goofy puppies, they're the sweetest. They're the sweetest. This is Fiona. I've had her she's been with me for about 5.5, almost 6 years now. And this is Chance. We just got him this year. He's been with us for about 4 months. He's about 1.5 years old. He's goofy as shit, and sweet and a pest. But he's still a pup. So you know what's going on under the table if you hear that. So I just wanted to pop on here for a few moments and share a little tidbit of wisdom from a book I've been reading. Just kind of really I don't know, it like settled in a little bit deeper than this ever has for me before. Like I've heard people say things, sit in your shit until it doesn't stink anymore, right? Like it's talking about like looking at your shadow, looking at your pain, looking at the uncomfortable feelings that you feel. But I don't know about you all, but sometimes when I sit in that shit and I observe it, not only do I observe it, but I'll get like carried away in it, like I'll observe the pain and the memory, and then my thoughts will start creating these stories. Like primarily for me, I'm really, just all these words popping through my head. I'm trying to choose the correct one that feels the healthiest. I guess I am accustomed to, it's been my pattern to beat myself up about what I'm experiencing. So for instance, this past weekend, I had a difficult couple of days. And I spent one of those difficult days dumping and projecting quite a bit of my pain onto my partner. So, I've already apologized to him about it, and he said, no big deal, and don't beat yourself up about it, because he knows how I am. But that hurt, didn't it? I guess not. Like it's just my pattern, I guess, to cycle through like in my brain about what happened, and then I'll start to fall into feelings of like man, that was so shitty, and I relive it and I feel bad about it, and I cycle in that. And so I just read this, I don't know, like paragraph or two from this book that I've been reading, that it just kind of hit me. It hit me differently than it has before. So I'm going to flip. This is the book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I actually read this like probably 15 or more years ago. And this was one of the first like spiritual self-help consciousness like books that I ever read. I stumbled upon it at my ex-husband's house. He had it on the shelf, and I pulled it down. I was just really drawn to it. I pulled it down and started reading it. And this book legitimately changed my life. It changed my fucking life. I had never considered these concepts ever before. I was young. I was 23 or 24 and just moved here from Alberta. And when I read this and started to put into practice some of the things that I read in this book, it shifted so much for me and so quickly. And yeah, just in the past month or so, it keeps coming up. Like, I'll hear someone talking about it, or I watch a podcast the other night and it was talking about this book. And a friend of mine posted it on Facebook and was like, yeah, I'm reading this again, or reading this with, I can't remember if it was again or for the first time. Someone else on there said, I read it twice. I was like, okay, this is enough like of a nudge of a, poke, poke, poke. From the universe, that I figured I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to read it again. So the bottom here. So I guess hold on a minute. Eckhart was just talking about what I was just talking about, like how our pain, he calls it the pain body. It really exists in the past or in the future. It's not in the present moment. And that's not to say we don't experience pain in the present moment, but the suffering that we create for ourselves is the resistance to that pain. If we can just be in it and observe it, but not judge it or not try to really shift it or change it. I mean, you can, but without attachment to the outcome. So he's summarizing how to not get caught up in that pain body, in that emotional reaction to your memories or to your projections of the future. So let me summarize the process. Focus attention on the feeling inside you. Know that it is the pain body and accept that it is there. Don't think about it. Don't let the feeling turn into thinking. Don't judge or analyze. Don't make an identity for yourself out of it. Stay present and continue to be the observer of what is happening inside you. Become aware not only of the emotional pain, but also of the one who observes, the silent watcher. This is the power of the now, the power of your own conscious presence. Then see what happens. So that just kind of struck me this morning, and it helped me to recognize that I've been practicing observing my pain, but not going to say I didn't notice, because I do notice that I've gotten better at not getting carried away with the stories attached to that pain. In the past, maybe I would dwell on an event. Maybe I had an explosion, like I have some deep-seated rage issues that I've been working to process and move through and transmute for years now. And now, I mean, typically maybe once a year, twice a year, I'll have a fucking freak out. Typically it's what's the word? Maybe brought on by actions of my son or actions of my dog. Actually thinking of the dog, I'm like, I've definitely had some rage outs over the past few months, more than I guess 1 or 2 a year. But when I talk about like a mega rage out, I mean like it's not embarrassing for me to share anymore. I mean, mildly, because I'm not proud of the way I act, but I do want to share sometimes how I react to my pain body. I can become so enraged that, screaming isn't enough anymore. Like I'll have to throw my fist into a wall or a door. I've hurt myself quite badly by doing that in the past. The last major like temper tantrum rage out that I had was last year. And I had a mason jar that was on the table, and I grabbed it and I smashed it down on the table, and it obliterated into a million pieces, and I cut my hand. And like, this is me getting carried away, carried away in the pain and reacting to it. So I have become conscious of the spiral, that downward spiral, that it can be triggered by a thought, but instead of just observing that thought and feeling the emotion that might come with it and letting it float on by, taking a moment to breathe, taking a time out if it's me and my son who are squabbling with each other, or if it's my dog that's enraging me, like, it's okay, you go outside for a minute, I'll sit down. instead of doing that, I'll get carried away with it, and more thoughts will come in, and then fears, and then judgments, and then that triggers more emotions, and it just spirals out of control. So I have been practicing reeling that in, but I don't know, for some reason this little paragraph here, just, it was like maybe one little missing piece for me, just to be really mindful of not judging the pain and not continuing to think about that story, and allowing more momentum and more power. This is how he had talked about the pain body in just the paragraph or two before. It was like, it's like a spinning wheel, like every time you think about the pain and you have an emotional reaction to that pain, it's like giving another push to that wheel. It's continuing the momentum, and it's making it spin faster. So when you initially stop and just observe, that wheel is still going to continue to spin, and it can be tricky from my experience not to want to engage with it, not to want to keep pushing it, because it is still spinning. But with your awareness, looking at that emotion and looking at that pain, and not judging it, not continuing to tell the story about it, you've stopped giving it that push, that momentum, and eventually the spinning will slow down. And that pain body will come up less and less. Just choosing to not engage with it, choosing to stay present. And present means to just watch. And I guess that's really like the gold, and sit in your shit until it doesn't stink anymore. Like, if the pain is coming up, it's likely for a reason. So if you can, just watch and try not to think too much about it. I struggle with that sometimes. I have a very analytical mind, a beautiful analytical mind, and there are ways in which it serves me really, really well. Like, I'm a phenomenal event planner and organizer because I can consider any and every possible situation, and what might the outcome be, and what might the need to come into play. Like, I can analyze, friends. But sometimes I take it too far, and that's where that wheel starts spinning. So anyway, that's all I wanted to share. One more of the pups, just because they're cute and silly. I got some shit to clean up today. Holy, you guys, messy dogs. All right, thanks for checking out my video, guys. Let me know if any of this lands with you. How does it feel in your heart, in your mind, in your body? Have you experienced what I experienced, by feeding that pain body, by continuing to tell that story over and over? Or have you experienced what I was talking about, being able to just sit back and observe, and noticing the difference of the energy, and watching that momentum of that wheel start to slow as you stop judging yourself and judging the pain and judging the emotion, and just start watching it. And this just kind of came through, and maybe even giving it love, maybe even not just accepting, but maybe having gratitude for it. Who knows? All right, my friends. Peace and love. Happy Tuesday or whatever day you're watching this. And I'll see you again soon.